Moneyality, moneyality, with the Moneyalogist, Miss Tanya Collins.
Woo! Hi, everyone. Happy Monday night. I am Tanya Collins, the Miss Moneyalogist, and I am here tonight. We have a great topic. I have a great guest that's going to be with me tonight. We're going to be talking about the reality of parents and financial planning. And that is something, if you are a parent, you need to be chiming in, listening. You can ask questions. We are live, so you can make comments and type in questions if you have them. So what has been going on with me? As I have had a great weekend, I will tell you that I went to Georgia. My nephew got engaged, and I was there to witness that. It was an amazing moment. And I'm thinking, wow, I was with this little boy when he was a baby. Now he's an adult man with a baby and proposing to his girlfriend. It was really beautiful. He did it in front of her family. And my sister, his mom had gone out. So we really loved that. And I had a really good time. It was a good party. It was actually a Jamaican party for her parents. So yeah, that was my weekend. And what else has been going on with me? With Moneyality, I have been really excited about building out the course. There are so many things that I want our children to learn from Moneyality that I have to just decide I can build it out right now and then maybe have an edition number 2 and edition number 3, so I don't have to prolong it by wanting to add so much information to them. I don't want to give an overload, but I am really excited. And so Moneyality is understanding your money personalities, and there are 4 of them. It's the splurger, the keeper, the tracker, the adventurer, and the mingler. And I always talk about each one of them, and how they affect us is they are known to be part of our financial DNA, we call it, because you are born within yourself, you are born with different personalities that can be learned behavior later, but most of the time you come in, you have a set personalities that you were born with. And so your money personality is one of the ones that they say are already established inside of us as children. So when a child is thinking about different aspects of their life, you can start telling what their thoughts are going to be based on their behavior. And I give examples like when children go trick-or-treating and they're getting ready to go out on Halloween, that the splurger is just excited. So they go out and they try to get all of the candy that they can get, because splurgers love and the enjoyment of buying things. They love the enjoyment of having instant gratification. And so splurgers are those kids that are very impulsive. And so they have those characteristics. And then you have the keeper, which I always say is one of my favorites because I am a keeper. And keeper children, if they were going trick-or-treating, they would go and they would come home with their candy and they would hoard their candy. You would find a keeper child may have their Halloween candy way past Christmas. It may be even in January. They still have different pieces because they kind of hoard it, and they hoard it and they keep it because they like having access to it. They like not doing it, like they don't have the instant gratification at all. So they take a piece and they're very comfortable holding on to whatever they like to collect. So if they're collecting candy, coins, butterflies, or whatever, you will see your keeper child will have that kind of momentum to keep things and kind of always have access. It's hard for them to release things, and then it's hard for them to release money. And then you have a child that would be an adventurer's child. If they were out trick-or-treating, those children are the children that are out and they are probably paper rolling people home. Those children are probably having the weirdest costumes. They want to do something really outrageous, and they get the candy, but the adventure for them is going out, maybe the haunted houses. They love that aspect. And so you can kind of start seeing that in your children, but that also plays a fact in how they look at their future with money and how they are going to have those behaviors. And so with an adventurer person, they are the children that are dreamers. They are fearless children. They love to take risks. I call them the risky thrill seekers, and that's their personality. So after that, I have told you about the splurger, the keeper, the adventurer, and also I am an adventurer. Those are my primary and secondary, keeper and adventurer. And then you have the tracker. The tracker children are, if they were going out for Halloween, they have already planned their route. They know what houses they're going to. They know what person has which pieces of candy that they want. They have been planning this route probably for over weeks. That where they want to go. They are very meticulous about where their costume probably has been and what they wanted their costume to look like. So those are goal-oriented children. They plan for the future. Their needs are very clear. They are very comfortable in what they have their expectations set for. But they worry about the future. So they are children that I really think they should have a little more enjoyment. They really need enjoyment. They really need to be able to distinguish from planning so much and just kind of enjoy the moments. And then there's a mingler child. And a mingler child for Halloween is just excited to be out with their friends. They are what I call the carefree children. They love their friendships. They love being in groups with friends, sharing different things with them. They have no love for money. They would think money is something they don't need, or that, people that have money, that they are taken from the poor. I mean, they just have a whole charitable type of mindset. So those are the minglers. And those are the 5 different moneyality types. So again, they are the keeper, the tracker, the adventurer, the splurger, and the mingler. And tonight we're going to have a guest that she has taken the money assessment. And so we're going to talk about what her moneyality types are. But also I wanted to say that with moneyality, it is to me the foundation of understanding how you feel and think about money. And that's what's so important, that it's not just always about telling your child, oh, you need to invest your money when you're young, or you need to do have a savings account. All of those things are not going to apply to those children where they understand it. And some of those behaviors are going to have to be learned behaviors. For the splurger, the adventurer, and the mingler, those are learned behaviors. They are going to have to be taught, and they're going to have strategies on how they would want to invest or how they want to save. Now, the other two, the keeper and the tracker, they are very similar about their money. So they are going to be okay if the keeper actually has already started saving their money, even if it's like coins that they are saving. As a keeper, my story is at 5 years old, I had already started saving 35 cents for my snow cones. And so I had learned how to count money. I had learned how to decide if it took 2 nickels and a quarter to make 35 cents, how many dimes, 3 dimes, and a nickel would make 35 cents. I mean, I learned all of the different ways that coins could be 35 cents. And I started that at 5. So it wasn't something my mom taught me. It was because of something that I desired and I wanted it, and I wanted to be able to afford it. So I started to save for the things that I wanted, as well as a tracker. A tracker is going to be understanding how to save. They may not be as early starting as a keeper, but trackers are going to be planners. So they want to be able to put their money in ways that they can plan for the future. How they even like to plan, like what schools they're going to go to, what classes they're going to take. They are very forward thinkers, and with them, it's not hard to teach them about saving and investing. So that's why Moneyality is so important to me, is that we need to be able to acknowledge as aunties and parents and grandparents that every child Moneyality type may be different, and it's probably maybe different than yours. So I know that I struggle as a keeper sometimes if I'm with my nieces or nephews and one of them is a splurger. I have to really be mindful that I don't want to force my keeper uh, not talents, my keeper thoughts or my keeper behavior onto them when I know they're a splurger. So I know I have to talk to them differently. I know I have to explain to them a little more in depth of why they may or may not be able to get something in a store. So it takes a lot of practice. It takes definitely parents getting to know what they feel and think about money, and then being able to adjust and respect a child's place of what they feel and think about money, and not make it as a competition or trying to persuade them to be like you. It's just telling them that they have options. And if you want them to do different things like saving, or if you want them to be more outgoing like a tracker and tell them that it's okay to splurge on themselves, those are the conversations that we need to have. And I did a show a couple of weeks ago about having conversations with your children. And so every week now on Monday nights at 7 o'clock, I'm going to be coming on and I'm going to have a little more that I'm going to add to that. So parents, you can start listening and start understanding that your Moneyality type, how you think and feel about money, is probably different than your children, maybe even your spouse, your boyfriend, your girlfriends, or whatever. And those are big issues that cause friction in relationships. So if you want to know more, just start following me on Monday nights. You can go to my YouTube channel, and that is at the Miss Moneyalogist. All of those things are on the ticker at the bottom that you can start going like and subscribe to my YouTube channel, my Instagram, my LinkedIn, as well as my Twitter account. So with that being said, I know that's a lot. Those are my intros that I really stress hard because Moneyality is so important to me, and that I want to be able to influence people in different ways to understand how money really works. So that's how we are with that. But let's move on to our guest. But before we move on to the guest, I'm going to do some house cleaning and talk about some people that have been with me since the beginning and helping to sponsor my show. So the first one is Nick Venti Design. Nick is a one-stop shop for mobile apps, animation, and web design. His number is 662-902-9737. So if you're interested in any of those things, animation, web design, I would definitely recommend Nick Venti Designs. Okay, and my next one is Joy Media Group. I would definitely recommend contacting Joy Media Group, as you see it on the screen, at 901-618-9501, and talking to Joy about anything that you want to do as far as maybe podcast, or having her to be able to set up podcasts for you, just mirror of things that you can learn. So I recommend Joy, and that information was thrown in the screen. So before I bring on the guest, I do want to say that I have gone through all of these changes in my life. So I was a business major, then I got into education, and now I have combined my educational degrees with my business and my entrepreneur skills. And with that, like when I went to the Federal Reserve to get certification, I talked to teachers and I was thinking, wow, there's not even enough of us that should be in these school systems. And I love to tell you that we are going to have to do some additional work with our students and our children by definitely getting into the Moneyality course, but also not just depending on the educational system to teach your children about money. So, as an educator and as an entrepreneur and as someone who really wants to see how children can change the economical status of how they are going to be when they're older, and we want to get these children where they're not in financial debt and just make financial generational money decisions and be able to just expand a lot farther than where we are. I want you all to just be mindful that it is so important that we work together. That's my biggest push, that we work with the parents, we work with the educators, and you work with me as an educator and an entrepreneur and a business person. You learn about math skills with Moneyality. I'm going to help them understand how the basic math works, and they're going to learn about themselves. So that's my last little push on that. And without any further ado, I'm going to want you to get excited because we're going to have a topic that is definitely needed in our community for sure. And that is parents and their financial planning. So we got Raquel Brewer that's coming on, and she is a wealth and legacy coach, and we are excited to have you. Hi, Raquel.
Hi, thank you for having me, Tanya.
You are so welcome. So, before we get into you sharing all the great information you want us to tell you, we had to do the money assessment with you. So, let's put her scores up. Okay, Raquel. So you started off with the highest score of being a tracker, and then you are a keeper with 5, an adventurer with 4, a splurger and a mingler both have 2. So you had access to the different characteristics that each one of them have. So tell me, what were your thoughts about your scores?
I felt that the scores were fitting, or I could, forecast that I would have those scores just because I have always been the type to map out my finances and have goals for my finances and want to know where it's going to go and save money for those goals. As far as splurging, of course, there's times when, especially when I was younger, that I would splurge, but it's never been like my money personality. If I
Mhm.
had to guess, Um, it's just not one of those things that I did with my money. But I definitely have always been a tracker and a keeper. And as I've educated myself about more ways that I can use my money, I have become or have I feel like adopted the personality type of or the money personality type of an adventurer because I'd like to see different ways that I can make my money work for me. So these scores definitely are fitting.
I love that. I love that. And I always I ask you all the time, like, what was your first experience with money? And I've read your answer. And so I want you to tell me what you say your answer is, and then I may want to elaborate a little bit on that. So tell
Okay.
me, what was your first experience with money?
So my first experience with money would have been, I think it was when I was 8 years old, and I started my first business. It was a lemonade stand. I had watched my mom. She's always been an entrepreneur, so I've watched her write out business plans and do all the operational um, events that are needed to start a business. So I just watched what she did and I put that into action. I wrote my first business plan all the way down to uniforms, a mission and vision statement, like everything. And then I had one employee and we opened this lemonade stand, and in 2 hours we made $40, and that was my first experience with money.
Wow, I love that story. I mean, that is so phenomenal. You are the first guest I've had that had a plan written out. I mean, are you telling me at 8 years old you did all of this, Raquel?
And looking back on it, um, I'm blown away by myself, just at the fact that I could take something like my mom. She didn't sit down next to me and show me how to write out the business plan. I watched her, and my learning style is visual. It's definitely visual. So I just watched
Mhm.
everything she did, and I did the same thing. I just mirrored it. And I remember what I wrote down, and knowing that my business plan was so in detail, like it's crazy because now I work with adults who need help with their business plan. And 8-year-old me could have told them exactly how to do it. So I look back on that experience, and I really just amaze myself just looking back on that experience.
Wow, I love that. And that to me really sets the tone with my research of understanding that you can be so young and have a mindset based on like you had been exposed to your mom. But I know and I feel and believe that our moneyality types are fitting with us. We already have them inside of us. We show it through different things. And I do want to know, do you remember your mission? Like, can you cite it? Do you have any of those that you can cite?
Um, I know it had to have been something. I remember it being something along the lines of supplying like a quality product to the community. I don't remember it verbatim, but I do remember making sure to include the words of like quality product. Um, it probably
Wow.
had something of like natural, because I use, real lemons. I knew, and I was pretty smart.
Yeah, you are very impressive. So, who was your employee? Who did you have
My
as an
neighbor.
employee?
I had a
Another
friend.
child?
Yes.
Okay, girl, I love that. So, how long did that go on? Was it one day? Did you do it multiple days? How long did you have the lemonade stand?
I just did it for one day. It was, Memphis, or summers in Memphis are hot. So I remember I picked a not terrible day, but after that day, I was like, okay, that was fun for one day, but I can't see myself in this sun for the rest of the summer. But it was a fun experience for that one day.
Wow. I love that story. Thank you for sharing that. And I will say this about that story that one thing that you did, which you say you have before an adventurer, when we see that, but adventurers are the type of children that start something and then they are changed their mind because it's just the thrill of it. It's just
True.
that adventure that I do it and then it's no big deal and you can kind of back off of it. So maybe it was a little of your adventure that was like, I'm not going to be out here in this sun. I did this once and even putting the work in and then thinking, wow, okay, I put this work in. And you, as a child, you ain't even messed up about it. You are
Right.
okay with it. And as adults, we are stressed about it. Like Raquel, I am writing my business plan, doing my mission, and I just was doing it. And I jumped way ahead. I probably would have been selling that lemonade and not even having no plan or whatever. I would have just been doing it, just trying and trial and error. But now I do still freeze up with that. As much as I am an adventurer, and I am a keeper, I really need that tracker to come up out of me. Like I want to be able to plan for the future, and I struggle with that moneyality type. And it's one of my top three, but it's not near as strong as that keeper and adventurer. So I want to add more of the tracker that's within me. I need to pull it up and really help it project me into the future. But I love that. Okay, so another question then, really quick. So you did the moneyality assessment. I know I asked you like what would be something that you would say to a parent if after doing the moneyality assessment, your baby is young. How old is your child?
He'll be 2 next month.
Wow, those years
Yeah.
are going by fast.
Oh,
So
wow.
even at 2, and they actually say at 3 years old, children can start to understand, right? So at at this point, if you're on the show and somebody say, "Wow, Raquel, my children are struggling," whatever, what could Moneyality be your first recommendation to them, or what would you say they would need to do as parents?
I think, and this is for everything when it comes to a parent, is to stop and analyze their child and see what their strong suits are and play on their strengths. Number one, first
Hmm.
and foremost. So I don't think that of course, there's pros and cons for every personality or moneyality type. So really, highlight their strong suits and see how it can work for them. For example, if they're an adventurer, they might they might see of their future in entrepreneurship. So, not push it on them, but make that just keep that in mind and help them navigate that. Maybe see, help them think of ways that they might want to start a business, or find their strengths and their passions in that. And for the areas that you feel like they could be stronger in, educate them. That's what I
I
would offer, what I would suggest. So I definitely think that Moneyality um, is a great tool for every parent to use when they're trying to get their child educated and mindful about their finances.
Thank you. And I agree 100%. And what is so cool about that is that I am in the process right now. My course would be targeted for middle school, kind of high school students, but I am writing the assessment for the little ones. And I have been testing it out, and I've done it with a 5 year old, a couple of 5 year olds, and they are so mature. And I just be thinking, wow, one of the 5 year olds, when I gave it to her, I said, so do you like to do different things with your money? And she was like, no, I just want to save it because I am going to college. And I was like, oh, wow, little girl, I love that. So she is 5 and she already had started saving, and she said she wasn't going to mess with it. She wanted to go to college. So I love that. Okay, so one more question. Having the lemonade stand, you already said that was just for one day. So were your moneyality types in line with how you have continued to move in your life? Like, do you feel like they are very accurate to how you move with your money now? And tell me a little about that. Yes or no? And then tell me a little about it.
I definitely think that they have. And so, one of the areas that I really dived into, especially around the time that I gave birth and shortly after, is the traumas that are associated with our money personality type. So, I know that one of the biggest hurdles that I had to overcome was escaping that survival mentality. Um, when I was very fearful when I gave birth, and the main thing that I was fearful of was if I was going to be able to provide, or not having enough for my child. And through the months after I gave birth, I realized I'm highly capable. I can provide for my child. So I had to prove that to myself. And slowly and surely, I healed this wound that I had attached to scarcity, that scarcity mentality. And so the adventure side of me was able to come out more because I wasn't so scared. I'm still a tracker and I'm still, trying to budget, but you should do that as a parent. But I'm still able to be more of an adventure, which is great because that allows me to feel safe enough to invest and to become the entrepreneur that I know is inside of me, and
Mhm.
and set my child up, and to not be fearful whenever my child decides that they want to do adventurous things with their money, or just in general.
I agree. I love that. So thank you again for deep diving into my moneyality type stuff. But we're going to one more thing. I think I was going to ask you about the splurger and the mingler because I'm looking at it now. Before we move on, you have them tied. There's 2 points for each one of them, and I always be thinking, wow, if your scores jump so to such a range between the scores, I do want to know, do you ever splurge? Do you ever just go in a store or go somewhere and just not worry about the cost. Just go for
Before I had a child, yes.
it.
um, Definitely. And this is also something that I had to heal within myself because I noticed I would splurge. I was a splurger at one point, but it was when I was in a very emotional state. And I needed some sense of like instant gratification or, that retail therapy.
Hmm.
And when I healed other parts of my life, that splurger in me, that score came down. I don't know what the score was at that time. I'm sure it
Right.
was a lot higher. But as I healed other parts of my life, that score definitely came down. So at one point in my life, I was a splurger. So,
I, I,
mm,
Raquel, I love your answer because that makes perfect sense. Because I always say we got all five of them in us. And I love the fact that you have made me kind of think about when will I become a splurger? And is it something going on in my life that I am trying to fulfill a void for? And so I am going to start tracking that within myself because the times that I am a splurger for sure, it's when I go out of the country and I learned what their currency rate is to the US dollar. And honey, if I see that that rate is a big gap and my dollar can go farther, oh, I'm a splurger then because I am knocking it down. And in my mind, I'm calling that a splurger, but in honesty, I already have so much money that I'm going to do that with. So I'm kind of balancing out that keeper part. But the mingler also, let's talk about the mingler. Minglers, I often think about that when have I been just minglers are really move around relationships. They are I don't want to say they are followers, but they are definitely like the climate of having people around. They like to be interactive. They like to move and be a part of a group of things or whatever. And a mingler will pay for their friends if they're at the movies. I said like the other week, a mingler, if they got it, you got it, right? And so that's the kind of friend they are, and how they can be taken advantage of.
mm.
So, have you ever had any mingler experiences?
Yes, um, definitely. So another trauma. There was a part of me that used to be a people pleaser, and um and I was also in, I did a year, well, I had a career in medicine. I did 5 years in the Navy as a naval medic. In my first year, I worked on the oncology floor. And so my heart was very open at that time, and I felt like I needed to help everyone and save everyone. And I was financially secure because, I was in the Navy. And so, whether it was family or friends, people would come to me, with their problems, or if I just see that they're in some type of emotional depression or, just bad state, I took on the duty of feeling like, oh, well, let me, help them, save them, or whatever that may be. So, so yes, and people saw that I was wanting to be there for them,
Hmm.
in that capacity, and so they did take advantage of me. But, I think motherhood has really healed a lot of those wounds because you learn that you have to prioritize yourself, most definitely.
I agree. Hmm.
So I don't even have, I feel like when I'm helping other people, that's taken out of my son's mouth. That's how I look at it now. So I can't be a people pleaser anymore unless
I
it's,
get that.
you know, I guess unless it's my son, but that's not really people pleasing. That's taking care of your responsibilities.
I love that, girl. You have such mature answers, and I know you're young. I don't know if you want to share your age, but I love talking to you. And I already knew, I'm like, wow, I'm going to be excited to interview you because you have a very mature soul, and I just love that. So, thank you for sharing both of those. And so now we're going to go into your specialties, the things you love. And I want you to give us an overview of what you do with the wealth and legacy coaching and where do you want to see that going? Have you done a business plan for your wealth and legacy coaching? So yes, I want you to just share a little, not a little, just share about what you're doing and where you're trying to go with this.
So, what I'm doing is helping families, especially moms. Since I am a mom, I feel like that's where I can serve best from. Helping moms plan their legacy and put it in a state that it's able to carry over for generations, because one problem that we do see is that 70% of wealth is lost with by the second generation. So my goal is to help moms feel like they have the power to protect their legacy and protect their children in a way that they wouldn't be able to do should they perish before their children meet the age of majority, with the help of an estate plan. And so I've been giving a lot of information. You can find a lot of free information on my Instagram. I also do consultations, and um, within the next, my 5-year plan with this business is to um, hold more seminars and to do more one-on-one coaching, and to eventually be able to offer physical products for families to buy to help them be able to plan their legacy out, so that they can protect the financial future and the physical, the physical lives of their children.
Okay. I love that, and I was trying to do your IG so I can put it up there, so you can say it. But isn't it mommy
Yes,
and
mommy.
me
It's
dot?
mommy spelled MOMMIE
Mhm.
dot with dot a dot plan.
All right, so I'm going to have that posted in a minute. Uh, Add that banner. Okay, so we're gonna have that to be shown. Show her IG for me, and so people can start, looking for you and stuff like that. So tell me, what are some stages if I was a parent or even an aunt? What would you say would be some of the first things you would recommend for me to do? I've heard sometimes they say you can get these different savings accounts, or you can get um, mutual funds. I mean, something I heard somebody say that you can get and share that information with the parent of the child. And I don't know if it was, honestly, I don't know what it was, but it was like something you would want to start with them very young and then put money into it. But you had to get permission from the parent. And I was thinking, wow, if I get permission from the parent, I don't want to give it to them so they have access to take advantage of these children's money. So, do you have a clue of what I'm talking about, or something you would recommend as something like that?
Um, what I think you may be referencing is a UTMA account, a uniform. Mm, Goodness, you put me on the spot. I don't remember what it stands for, but it's basically an investment account for children. It's a custodial account for children, that anyone can open, of course, with the permission of their parents. Now, there are some pros and cons to it. I'm honestly not a fan of UTMA accounts, just because they are taxable, and the main reason why I'm not a huge fan of it is because once the child reaches the age of majority, which is 18 in most states, that money that they inherit or that they get custody of then counts as earned income, and it can hurt them when they go to apply for financial aid for college. Now, some products that I actually do feel are must-haves for every child. Number one, of course, life insurance, and I would advocate for a whole life insurance policy, but they can be more expensive, um, of course, than like a term life policy.
Mm-hmm.
The benefit with having a whole life insurance policy, especially for a child, like as soon as they're out of the womb, is that it locks in the rate of the policy of the cost that is at, when they're an infant. So, and the fact that they're even able to be eligible for it. So what I mean here is that when you're an infant, the likelihood that you have a condition that would disqualify you from certain life insurances is at the lowest it's going to be 9 times out of 10. As you
Okay.
get older, you may develop, asthma or, type of illness that will disqualify you. So if you get it young enough, you don't have to worry about that. Also, the rates tend to be a lot cheaper. And with a whole life insurance policy, you basically have your life insurance, benefit, and then you have a index fund, which is a type of savings account, if you will use that term, that accrues interest just as the stock market does. But when the stock market dips, it does not dip with it. It just evens out. So you never lose money with this type of savings account. And it's protected in the event that you were to get sued because
Mm-hmm.
you can't sue for someone's life insurance policy. Another product that I'm a huge advocate for is an IRA. So anybody can open an IRA as long as they have earned income and the income has been acquired in a manner that is age appropriate. So for example, an infant cannot run a car dealership, or a lemonade stand even, but they can model. So that would be age appropriate. So as soon as they start getting this earned income, they can open an IRA. And when you start putting money into this IRA, obviously, the younger you do it, the more money that you're saving. And once they reach the age of majority, they'll start to, have certain desires that want a home or they want to go off to college. And the benefit with an IRA is that you can actually borrow from this IRA penalty free or withdraw from this IRA penalty free as long as you're using it to buy a home or to go to college or for medical expenses. So all three reasons, three valid reasons or needs that you would want to have a large sum of money. So I feel like an IRA is a definite product that you should try to get your hands on ASAP for your child, along with that whole life insurance. And the most important part here is an estate plan. And the reason why I say this is because, just as I've mentioned earlier, children cannot inherit money while they're minors. They have to wait until they're at the age of majority, which means that if their parents were to perish before they reach that age of majority, that money is then going to be left to their guardian
Okay.
um, to decide what to do with it. So, without an estate plan, you likely have not legally assigned a guardian um, to take over your child if you were to perish. So the courts are going to assign your children a guardian, and then the guardian is going to do whatever they decide needs to happen with that money because you haven't left it in a trust, you haven't left any instructions for it. You don't even know technically who's even taking care of your children. So you need that estate plan so that way you can list everything that you want to happen with your children and with your money.
I love that. So I just typed those out on the banner, and can we put those on the screen again? Um, the first one is the whole life insurance policy. The second was the IRA and estate plan. So let's go with the IRA first, and we're gonna kind of go back and forth. I have an IRA, and I know that you can put as a single person. I think I can put like $7,000 a year. I kind of be off on that.
Six
But
thousand. Mm-hmm.
is it six? Okay, so if it's 6,000, is that the same amount you can do for a child? Is there are there a set number for a child for their
It's the same.
IRA? Okay, so you're thinking right now when a child is born, if we start these IRAs, and by all means, you do not have to put the max of the 6,000, but if you just started putting 100 in, because every year you would have the opportunity to do the 6,000, right? And so then if you just started putting a couple of $100 in, it would be an amazing legacy to leave for your child if something were to happen to you. And so I love that one. And that's a great idea. And I'm glad you're here to say that. And then the whole life insurance policy. Oh my gosh, I love that one. And I just like the idea that you're saying we need insurance policies, period, like for children when they're born, because I don't think a lot of people think about the long term. And I think a lot of people say, I got godparents and you got a godfather and all that, but they're not using those roles as people to go to your number three as the executor for these estates and these trusts or whatever. So you got these little titles you've given to them, but are these the people you want to really raise your children? Are these the people that you would think could financially be responsible to dictate how your child will be taken care of? And so those are really, really important questions. Just listening to you, I was thinking, wow, we are so not being prepared, especially as African Americans. I know you and I talk about it a lot, and we already know, like, for generations, there have been estate plans and trusts. Children are being added. And was it you that told me that when there was a child born in somebody's rich family, that they put $1 million trust in it for them? Was that you to tell me that?
Yes, that's the Rockefeller family.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. So tell that story again. So I kind of just told it, but how does that work?
So the Rockefellers, of course, the breadwinner, the big breadwinner for their family was John D. Rockefeller, and he started, the Standard Oil Company. And it was a very successful business, but mind you, that business has broken up, I think, in 1906. But yet they're still one of the, they are like the richest family here in America, and they're the longest lasting legacy. And they have no business. Their business is opening life insurance policies and putting them into this trust. And every time one of their, family member is born, they open a life insurance policy, and once their child or once the family member dies, that death benefit goes into the trust. So, yeah, it's an awesome system. And what they do with them with the money is they invest with it, or they take care of their expenses with it. And the glue to this well-oiled machine is definitely communication. And they really explain that in one of the interviews. Mr. John D. Rockefeller's son, he really went into detail about how what's keeping that, he really went into detail about how communication and um, that family values is keeping that machine well oiled.
I am very impressed with that. And they already have a head start on us because a lot of their wealth probably is built on the back of our ancestors that have got where they have flourished with all of this money. But now that we know these things and we have access to the internet and we have access to you, it is imperative that we start getting our minds on a different track of saying, you know what, how can I make sure that my children will be taken care of? How do I set this up without having to do a GoFundMe page or going out to borrow if somebody passes away and you got these children left and they may go to foster care? I mean, it's just so many things that could happen with your children if you pass away and you have not set them up for success. We have got to set these children up for success. And not only just, they need to know the moneyality types, but they need to have opportunities that can take them farther. And that I love the fact that they have it where they can, when somebody dies, it continues to feed into that trust. And then when somebody's born, like, wow, they get access to some of this money. I don't think it's probably the easiest thing. So I want to ask you, like, what are some steps to get this done? Like, is it just like, oh, you can do it? How would you start? Like, what would be the first thing you would do?
It's not incredibly hard. So for your life insurance policy, and for your IRA, the main thing is just finding a company that you feel is trustworthy. So you want to look for a company that has a good reputation, a company that you can easily access, have easy access to. So your bank, you may be able to open an IRA there. Even your life insurance policy, there are some banks that offer that as well. For your estate plan, those can get pricey sometimes, especially depending on if you have any assets yet. Which, if you don't have any assets yet, I still say get a life insurance. Get a an estate plan, because you need a vehicle regardless, and you need that protection asset, because if you're a parent, you definitely just have a need to protect your child for legal reasons, or whatever they may be. Um, so, one way to save money when it comes to getting that estate plan is getting legal insurance or getting a legal policy. You can get that through MetLife. Trying to think off the top of my head. Well, I know MetLife has one, and the policies can be anywhere from like $5 to $20 a month, which isn't a lot.
That's not.
And they'll give you a list of lawyers, estate planning lawyers near you that you can go to get that estate plan drafted with no extra fees needed. Another way that you can get your estate plan done is the DIY way, the DIY method, where you just, you fill out some documents that you can get straight from Office Max, and have them notarized and just keep them safe. It is it's a good method if that's all you have, but I just suggest that you really do your research, because if you don't do it correctly, you may think that you have a well established trust um, or plan, and you don't, because you didn't fund it correctly, or you miss a step. So if you're going to go that route, I just suggest that you do some good research and reach out to somebody who's done it before, or go ahead and go to that estate planning lawyer.
Okay. So with that being said, so am I now saying, hey, if you need help with this, am I telling them that they need to contact you through the IG and the mommy with a plan, and you are able to assist them? And I'm going to tell all of you that are listening that she has said so many things that I'm going to bring her back. And we're probably going to break these things down a little easier, because, and maybe even take you through some of the steps, because I am definitely interested. But in this time, this hour, I just appreciate her mentioning them. So you already have a mind to think like, wow, let's rethink how we are living, and the birth of these children is amazing. Like, we know, like, oh my gosh, these children are here, but it's going to be so much better if we are preparing a financial path for them. So I love that you have mentioned those three things that they could do, and I'm definitely wanting to bring you back on, and like I said, and talk to each one of them maybe a little more in depth, and maybe give us some more steps. But also, you all can reach out to her. Like, I want you to take advantage of what she said and contact her on IG at Mommy with a Plan, and let her be able maybe to set some consultations with you, and whatever it is. And I would say you are worth your weight in gold. Just even listening to you tonight, that it's worth it. I think sometimes I don't think sometimes, I know lots of times that I have seen parents that try to take shortcuts on raising their children, and you don't take shortcuts. And I'm gonna give you a prime example. Is like babysitters. When you are getting a babysitter, you want to make sure that they are feeding your child. You want to make sure that their house is clean. You want to make whatever their company is. You really need to go through these checklists, like this is this and this. Well, that's what we are saying tonight. put that on your checklist that, okay, once you get that babysitter down, let's get insurance down, and let's get an IRA checked, and let's get the estate plan checked. And by all means, we're not thinking that that's going to happen tomorrow, but definitely if you got it on your mind, you put it on your checklist, then it can start happening. Because we know, even with me with Moneyality, I don't think I'm going to change everybody's Moneyality type just overnight. That's why we're doing podcasts, so I can introduce them to you. But Raquel, I love what you have said. And like I said, I want to bring you back and we have more conversations about it. And I will say, Raquel is also a notary. Like, she's a really good notary. I am a notary, but I'm not prepared. But she's a notary, so you can also contact her if you need some things notarized, and let's contact her again on IG for that. Is there anything else you think we should know before we close out today?
I would just say definitely, if you're a new parent, or even if you're not a new parent, to just um, take a step back and to really think about the goals that you have for your child and your wants or wishes, and understand that you can achieve them. Even as an estate plan, a lot of people think that that's not something that they might be ready for because they don't have assets, or they feel like it's a huge task and a huge burden to even confront. And it's not. You just have to take those steps. And just the first step
Right.
is knowing that it's there for you and is 100% ready for you when you're ready to make that step.
All right. Well, thank you, Raquel. And I'm going to tell everybody again, if you are fearful of making those steps, let's IG her. Let's go to mommy with a plan and let her help you. Because we don't expect everybody to know how to do all these things. And that's why she's a coach. That's why she is a wealth and legacy coach. That's why I am the Miss Moneyalogist. I am here to help guide you. I'm not expecting you to be an expert in all our fields. Like, that's why we work as a community. We can start influencing each other and helping as a community. So, Raquel, thank you again. And I am so serious. If it's not in the next few weeks or whatever, we're going to plan for you to come back and try and definitely set it up where we can have something and plans and steps that they could take. And as for me, I am always very good and I'm excited. And starting next Monday, I will be back 7 o'clock. We're doing Moneyality, and I'm not really sure. I may have a surprise for you next Monday. But what I will say is that I am going to definitely every Monday started putting more nuggets out there for you to understand what Moneyality is. Like, it's not just learning the Moneyality types, it's knowing how to have strategies to make them work in your life and how you can start implementing them with yourself and your children and maybe even your relationships. Even though I only work with children and that's my target audience, I will make adjustments and do workshops with parents and adults, because I want you to understand them. So when your children is telling you, I'm a keeper, I'm a tracker, mommy, then you're not like, what are you talking about? What are you keeping and what are you tracking? You will have an idea what they're talking about with Moneyality. So with that being said, I just want to thank everybody for listening. And you can start asking questions. And we have this live, so you can start just chiming in with questions if you have them. If you have questions about tonight's show, please reach out to Raquel at Instagram with Mommy with a Plan, and that's her IG right there on the screen. If you have been seeing all night, if you have questions for me about Moneyality, you can reach me on YouTube or you can go to Instagram, and they're under the Miss Moneyalogist, just as you see it on the screen. That is my Instagram, that is my YouTube. I think it's everything except my Twitter. Twitter does not have the THEE, but otherwise, all of my social media is through that. And just send me a message or email me at moneyalitycourse@gmail.com. And I would be more than excited to just start having conversations with you. So with that being said, we are done for the night, and thank all my listeners and spread the word and let them know that Moneyality is here to handle all of your money ideas and needs that work from your mind. Like, how does your mind feel about them? And so my last thing, my new motto is Moneyality will activate your mind. Moneyality will circulate your money, and Moneyality will elevate your math. So we are here to help in those three areas. And with that, thank you. Good night, and I'll see you next Monday. Mwah. Bye.
Moneyality. Moneyality. Moneyality.